Hello and welcome to Blossom Farm Studio. My name is Lee Miller. I'm the toy maker here, and today we're going to be making the Big Bus. Okay, to get started, we're going to need a piece of wood, and I've got this piece of 1 3/4 inch thick maple that a friend of mine gave to me. We're going to need some people for the bus. We'll need some wheels and some axle pegs, and I'll put a link down below where you can get those online. Okay, some other tools we're going to need. We'll need some glue and a pencil, a mallet, calipers, a square. I've got a nail set that I've sharpened to a point, and we'll need a 7/16 standard wood drill bit and a 24mm or 15/16 inch Forstner bit. For finishing, we'll need some paper towels, a clean cloth, some sanding paper, and some mineral oil beeswax mix. Alright, I'll be using a table saw for rough dimensioning, and for fine dimensioning I'll be using a planer. I'll use a chop saw or a miter saw and a benchtop router with a 1/4 inch roundover bit. And finally, we'll be using a benchtop belt sander and a benchtop drill press with a flap sander attachment. So with all that, let's get started. First thing I want to do is cut this down to a rough dimension of 1.5 inches thick by 3 inches wide, and then I'll cut it to 8 inches long. On a board this thick, I like to make multiple passes so as not to burden the saw too much or heat the blade too much. And I've got enough in this piece, I think, to make 4, possibly 6, but probably 4. Okay, with the rough piece cut, now I'm going to take it down to its final dimensions, thickness and width, using the planer. Okay, here I'm cutting the end of it to get a nice fresh square end. And over here I'm going to measure it out to 8 inches long. And that'll be the final dimensions, 1.5 inches by 3 inches by 8 inches. I'm going to cut it at 45 degrees to give that hood a nice slope. I've made a lot of these big buses, so when I started I made a little template to get all the holes on the top evenly spaced and the axles for the wheels lined up on both sides so it'll ride smoothly. Here I'm using my punch to mark the location of the holes, and then I use the punch again to set those deeper, and the reason I do that is so that the little tip of the drill bit will have something to line up to. Alright, it's time to drill holes for the people, 10 holes. Got my Forstner bit installed. And again, it is a 15/16 or 24 millimeter size. Just a quick check to make sure the depth is right. And some holes for the axles. Now at the router table I want to take off all the sharp edges, and I got a 1/4 inch round over bit in here. Now here on the belt sander is where it really starts to take its final shape, getting rid of all the tool marks and scratches I've put in it along in the process so far, and I get a really smooth round over on all those edges, and it's starting to feel really good in my hand. The next step in sanding is using the flap sander. It is going to allow me to take the edge off all those holes and to smooth out the shape that I got from the belt sander. This is where it's really starting to take a lot of time to finish up this project. Sanding is easily half the time involved in making one of these toys. And the final step before finishing is hand sanding. I use 120 grit sandpaper to begin with. Make sure I sand every edge, every curve, every flat surface. And then I switch over to a 220 and repeat the whole process until it's a silky smooth finish. No possibility of getting splinters. And honestly, I spend almost as much time sanding as I do on everything else I've done up to this point. To finish all of my toys, I use a mixture of mineral oil and beeswax, and I heat it up in a little mini crock pot so that the warm oil will get a better penetration. I use a brush, I get into all the nooks and crannies, and I cover everything and let it set for a second or two and soak in before wiping it off with a clean rag. And the reason I use this particular mixture is it's for children. It's a food safe product, and children are notorious for putting things in their mouths, and it also makes it easy to keep it clean. You can wash it with warm water and a little bit of soap and rinse it off really well and dry it. And then you can reapply. You can just pick up some butcher block oil or some oil and beeswax mix and refinish everything, and it looks just like brand new. So then final assembly, and we're done. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, would you please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. Until next time, see ya.